And traffic management can murder you in that game. Like, cause like, let's say all your power is from oil factories and you have oil coming from out of the map. If it takes, basically what happens with traffic is every vehicle has a destination. And if it takes too long to get there, it despawns and starts again. So if that's your oil for your power, that oil truck gets maybe 3/4 of the way there, despawns and tries again, and you never get the oil, and your city runs out of power, and everything falls to shit.
I'm going full Pol Pot. No private cars allowed. Walking or cycling only.
But yeah, I mean, the interesting thing is like the company that makes City Skylines apparently was originally traffic, like they did like actual traffic management software for like cities and shit.
Oh, okay.
And so that's where the most, robust system is in traffic. It's fascinating.
Interesting.
It's actually really cool.
All right, I'll give it a check.
By the way, I'm recording right now, just so we can get some feedback.
I didn't sign no fucking model release, Craig.
Well, too bad. Fucking sucks to be you, man. New York is. Did you know that New York is a one-way record? Like, as long as one party knows that they're recording, it's perfectly legal.
Yes, but you can't. That's for legal stuff. If you then try to use our image for commercial purposes, we're two Jews. We're going to sue the shit out of you.
Wow, that's really synonymous. Jews and lawyers. How funny is that?
What can I say?
Too cool to Jew. Get the fuck out of here,
dude. That's another subject that's been on my ass lately. The Orthodox Jews, like basically the Hasidic community in New York, and how they are putting truth to the Jewish question.
Putting truth, like what kind of truth?
Manipulating the systems as they like. Again, making arguments for the Jewish question easy.
Oh yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
The system, yeah, it's funky, man. Like, and it's been ragging on me a bit.
And I gotta say, like I don't know, I don't know enough about the Orthodox communities to know the names, but like the leaders of the Orthodox communities who have tied their communities to sort of a militarized Israeli nationalism,
Zionism,
really good job, because it's like they've completely conflated pro-Israel with letting Israel like do whatever it wants to the Palestinians.
Right. And anything anti-Israel is anti-Semitic.
Exactly.
So Jews are the new Nazi. Got it.
Well, if you support a Jewish state, like, I mean, that is so like any religious state, like at this point forward, like if you want to form any state over some religion, I'm just against that. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what religion it is. Like, I understand the reasons for forming in Israel, and I agree that it needs to exist at this point forward because it is what it is. But the arguments for starting it in the first place, they're not great. It's colonialism. That's all it is. It just happens to be Jewish.
No, obviously there's shit on the weak. I mean, isn't that always the story of man? You know,
what happened? Say it again.
The strong always shit on the weak. Isn't that always the story of man?
Well, yeah, that's the motivation that at least I am always trying to fight. Like, I feel like, again, like yes, that has been our history more or less to this point.
So in the big scheme of things and what's going on right now, how do you think Biden's going to handle it? Right. And then Netanyahu is still in power. Right.
I haven't heard the administration's. The only thing I've heard about Israel is just sort of the standard readout about Netanyahu's like congratulatory call. I haven't heard any addressing. I know that they're pushing back on Saudi Arabia.
Oh, I thought that dude was on trial.
That pretty interesting, actually.
Right, but I thought that dude was also on trial for corruption.
You mean Netanyahu?
Yeah, isn't he on trial for corruption?
He's been on, but he's been
there
very
before,
successful in pushing it off. I mean, I think he's up for re-election for the 4th time coming up.
And this is the thing, is like, again, like just like over here in New York, the Orthodox Jews vote a particular direction, or I should say the Hasidics. They do that there too, and they have a lot of power there. Like, they are the ones running the show and have been for a long time over there.
Right.
Much to a Jew like me's chagrin. Because he, like, this is like, again, the type of government that I feel like a guy like Netanyahu wants is Jewish. It's like, just like America first is bad, Jewish first is bad. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's apartheid. I mean, again, this is, you know, yeah, like just because it's got a Jewish star at the front of it doesn't make it any less fucking Nazi.
Yeah, but the right wingers love it. Strangely enough, they use it to like shit on Ilhan Omar, Tlaib. What's her Rashida Tlaib?
Well, the crazy ass right wingers are pro-Israel in
For a
air
different
quotes,
reason.
But they hate
think
Jews.
that-
but
No,
But then,
they
but
think
see,
that
but they
the
need
second coming
Jews.
won't happen
They
unless
need Jews. Hold on, they need Jews to be in control of Jerusalem for the
yes,
end of days.
yes,
That's why, like, all these evangelicals are on it. Like, they're not our friends. This is
no,
for them. You know what I mean?
it's
Like,
just so they can
it's
have the second coming and all that
right. Right. The
bullshit.
Jews need to be in control of that at the time of the second coming, apparently. And I mean, for two reasons. The Muslims won't let them in. And apparently, I think it's in their book, like that the Jews are supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's part of Revelations, if I remember
yeah.
correctly. Like,
You know, religion is such a batshit fucking ideal. It's still the opium of the fucking world.
Well, we needed it though. Like, I mean, the interesting thing is like, well, we needed it in order to build, like, to organize people towards a societal end. You need to keep people in line, right? So you take more primitive man. How do you do that? By saying it's like, well, you know, there's a God up there, and which is an easy thing for a human to grab because, like, just based on familial structure, the way that we evolved and to survive was always to look to our elder, you know what I mean, to lead us correctly. And that same brain function, like that thing of looking to someone more powerful than you to follow, is the same thing that religion works on. And it worked for thousands of years.
Yeah, but it's so hypocritical. Like today, the fucking Pope basically said, no, we're not, you know, blessing gay marriage. Right. And then all of a sudden some other fuckhead, I don't know, was it James Dolan or something that said they worry about Joe Biden's soul because he stands up to an anti-abortionist stance. I'm like, this is the stupid shit that, you know, turned me off from religion in the first place.
Well, Joseph Campbell argues that the belief in something greater is like baked into human consciousness.
I mean, I think that's true.
Yeah. And like, you know, like Eric said, like, you know, when you're 6, 7, 10,000 years ago, believing in the big dude in the sky makes sense.
Right, but now it doesn't because we're not 10,000 years, you know, 10,000 years ago. It's
now if you're going to believe in God or whatever it is, I think your beliefs, should be a lot more nuanced. Clearly, they don't have to be, because, you know, I'm from where people have, I don't need insurance. Jesus is my co-driver bumper stickers.
Right.
But, you know, anyone I think who's sort of educated or intelligent or questioning, like, if you believe in God, it's got to be a lot more fucking nuanced, just because, you know, we can see literally, you know, to 300,000 years after the Big Bang, and guess what? We haven't seen God yet.
Right. Yeah. Actually, I got a question. Like, so, all right. So all the old monarchies and the current ones, it was, I think, always ordained by God, right?
Yeah,
like,
divine
so divine right.
Mhm.
And that's how America is too, right? Like, so that's manifest destiny. And like, again, like it's diffused, like it's not like a one person that has this divine right, but isn't it's still kind of under God, right? Like, it's still kind of how they base it.
Well, it's difficult though, because the founders were sort of a mix. Like none of them, or not none of them, most of them weren't really devoutly religious. So a bunch of them were deists,
Right.
which is sort of like there's something up there.
Right.
You know, and I think you can make the argument, and I am not any means by historian, so I could be completely wrong, but I think you can make the argument also almost that like the language of in God in a lot of our founding documents was almost just because of the time they were written.
Right. But so what, like, let's say we were to rewrite it today, what would be the replacement? Like, so, like, again, like, is it not still sort of based in, like, you know, like, it's like, okay, like, you know, we are given this right, like, these are the rights given to us by God, and so therefore this is how we're going to take them. Is that
sort of like pledge allegiance?
I mean, I sort of think that if it was rewritten today, it would be more like the Declaration of Independence. It just says that people are born with inalienable, well, actually doesn't the Declaration of Independence, I don't think you would need to say God at all. You could just say people are born with certain inalienable rights.
Right.
You could chuck the God shit completely, you know.
Yeah, but you need
hopefully that's where we're headed, which is the idea that every person you meet is deserving of respect until they prove that they're an asshole. But, you know,
Right.
But how the fucking
I mean, that's my
Republicans-
approach. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you get my respect. You get at least a modicum of my respect until you prove yourself unworthy of it.
Well,
How do-
I kind of, for me personally, I feel like, treat other people as you would like to be treated, which is not, that's not saying you let people walk all over you, but I try to be nice to other people and respectful for them, even if I disagree with them. For one hand, it just makes going through your day easier. You know
Yeah,
what
it
I'm
does,
saying?
yeah. As
and
much
if
as
you're
the
dealing
younger
with,
Eric
like,
disagrees with that, the Eric does agree with you.
Yeah, and if you're dealing with, like, freaked out, over caffeinated project managers, it definitely makes your day easier.
I don't know, man. How the Republicans are supposed to control their people without, without stating like this is what God commanded. Every time every time something comes up, oh, gay marriage, no, God didn't intend that for that to happen.
Well,
I
they
think-
always control their people with something
Stupid, man.
disingenuous, something because they can't control, like again, they can't control them with what they want to do because it's counter to what their needs are. And so they have to find some narrative, whether it's God, whether it's something around God, or whether it has to do with racism.
What welfare moms, caravans over the border.
That's all. Again, we've talked about that before. It reaches straight back to the argument they made about the black people that are now in charge of North Carolina and whatever else, because they get to vote and they got their own reps. They're raising the taxes on all this shit. Well, that's bad. We're going to lower your taxes, and that's based on race. That's how they could get, because otherwise the white people were voting, the poor whites were voting along with the blacks.
Well, you know what? I hope that, after this election and, what Biden's doing with this COVID relief package and, I wouldn't say they should be woke, but, common sense should hopefully prevail. I think, the amount of QAnon idiots out there are slowly decreasing because they're starting to come back to reality and they're getting fucking arrested.
No idea if that's true or not. I have no idea.
What it's up to, like, the biggest, like, sort of problem with the rollout of Obamacare is Democrats did a really bad job of explaining it. You know what I'm saying? And there's
that's always a problem on the left.
And I just did this webinar last week. It's by and it's interesting. It's about how to effectively communicate, and it's specifically about using, like, the race class narrative. But one of the things they said is Democrats and progressives are really good at explaining the recipe. The people don't want the recipe; they want the fucking brownie.
They want the tagline for the brownie.
Yeah, so, like, you can say to someone, "Hey, I'm going to give you a quarter cup of oil, some butter, listing," or you can say, "Would you like this delicious brownie?"
Right.
And what the Democrats need to do is they need to give people the brownie for the stimulus package.
Right.
They need to, but I think that's why Jen Psaki keeps saying shots in people's arms, money in people's pockets. Like, that's the brownie.
Yeah.
And if they can do a better job explaining this than they did with Obamacare, then that'll help us.
That's my argument. Like, again, like, Craig, I don't know how quick it's going to happen, but I think our only bet is to use the power now to make everyone's life as much better as possible.
No disagreement there.
And we'll see what happens.
Right.
I can't think of another better plan than that.
No disagreement there. But I also, I've been trying to tell you guys, there needs to be fucking there needs to be somebody respond. Yeah, civil war. Yeah, not almost there. Not yet. Civil war. It's
that's
coming.
Episode 2. Craig's Civil War.
It's coming. It's.
Yeah, we're look.
It's coming.
Revolution or some type of civil war.
It's Stormtrooper wannabe.
It's
one way or another. We're going to get there. I just don't know exactly when.
What I'm saying is there needs to be accountability. The most important thing that Merrick Garland's in, and this is why every Republican is shitting fucking bricks. There's so much brown underwear in fucking Washington, D.C. Fucking laundromats will be busy until the end of the year.